is it? What time is it? What time is it?
Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Our all-star panel, as always, from Spindale, North Carolina, the pride of Spindale, Coach David Davis, former NC State Wolfpack, Baylor Bear, and Houston Oilers wide receiver, William Wilson. He's got so many titles. Let's start with Navy veteran. That's good. Arkansas Razorback.
Go Hogs.
Not so good, but the owner and founder of William Wilson Clothing and the founder of the William Wilson Celebrity Charity Golf Classic to further domestic violence awareness. And our man, back from his tour of Europe, Scandinavia, and the subcontinent, senior statistician John Tobias, JT. Glad you're all here.
What's up, Kev? I missed you, man.
I know.
I didn't miss you at all.
We'll never miss you. I'm glad somebody does. I'm not even missed at home. The only time I miss is when
Well,
they
you
say, go
you
ahead
my
and leave.
Facebook DM so much, I can't miss you.
I'm just
He's trolling.
feel
No,
love.
he ain't showing. No, Kev sent me good information.
There you go.
Kev, why you looking
I'm
out
just
for
giving
me?
him notes
like
for
how you
Brett
cleaned
Bielema
that
all the
up.
time because I know you're a big
Yeah,
supporter
he
of
ain't
Razorback
sliding in my
football.
DMs.
All right, now breaking news here, and it's sad news, unfortunately. Former Bobcats assistant, Fayetteville State head coach, Old Dominion head coach, Jeff Capel Jr. He's the father of the Duke assistant coach, Capel. Unfortunately passed away, but he had ALS, and it was a sad situation. And Coach, you knew Coach Capel. Kevin Tolbert, our assistant, our executive producer, knew Coach Capel. I grew up in Virginia. He was the head coach at Old Dominion, a very good basketball coach, and more importantly, was a good man.
Of course, you could tell by his sons the legacy that they're going to bring with them as far as not only being good basketball people, but also good people overall. I met Mr. Capel when I worked Duke's camps for 15 years. And him and his sons were always there, and he was always, he did it right. He started in high school, worked his way to the pros. But I think that's could be attributed to not only being a good basketball coach, but also a good person. And you can see that in his sons.
JT, got a reflection on Coach Capel?
Yeah, I want to echo to what Coach said. A lot of times when people say that you were a better person than you were in whatever profession you're in, that kind of speaks volumes. And just to shed a little bit of light, when I worked also with executive producer Kevin, when I interned with the Bobcats my first year back in 2004, he was always very nice. I work with his son, Jason, a lot with ESPN, and he's a very good color analyst. And just like Coach said, they're very, very good human beings, quality human beings. So his legacy is going to last for a very long time.
Will, did you know Coach Capel?
We met a couple of times. I didn't really know him really well. I know more about reputation and see the way he handled himself on television, on the court. And again, the way Jason and Jeff handled themselves. I mean, nothing but class. I've never heard a bad thing said about the man. And when I was in the Navy in Virginia Beach, he was actually coaching at ODU at the time. So, he was just a quality individual.
Quality human
world
being,
will miss him.
and the world will be is a lesser place without Coach Capel. Rest in peace. The Carolina Panthers in action on Monday Night Football, convincing, some say dominating win against the Miami Dolphins. JT, let's go down the line. What do you think? What stuck out for you against the Carolina Panthers and the Dolphins?
Everything, but the most important thing is the offense, and I think a graph's going to be put up right about now to where Carolina finished in that game with 548 yards. Coach and Will, that is the most yards that they ever got a game
You were
in a game.
You were working overtime on that.
I was. That's the most yards they got in a game offensively in history, in their franchise history. So we know their defense is really, really good, but their offense on Monday night, it was prolific.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that's a product of their offense being so good or Miami's just
They're not
bad.
the Browns.
Yeah, but
They won games.
they're 1-1.
Dolphins aren't a bad defense per se, but I think
they're bad. They could be. The thing is that you can have a decent defense, but if your offense is really, really, really bad, eventually your defense gets pulled down with it. They just get worn out, they get exhausted, and you just open the floodgates at that point. And the Panthers have too many weapons, too many ways to beat you if you're a good defense. So if you're an okay defense, they got a lot of ways to crush you. If you're an okay defense and you're exhausted, you're just waiting for the clock to run down at that point.
Coach Davis, we talked a couple weeks ago when you were here about how the field was going to try to be stretched vertically without Kelvin Benjamin in the field, more opportunities for Devin Funchess. We saw Curtis Samuel until he got hurt. He's out for the year with a ligament in the ankle. So we saw a lot of weaponry. We saw people like Cameron Artis-Payne get involved. Jonathan Stewart had a breakout game. Christian McCaffrey was getting touches as a receiver and a slot back. Coach, what did you see from the Panthers offensively?
Well, I was at the game, and as a Dolphin fan, it hurts me to say this. They look worse in person. I'm not for sure if that's a good barometer of how good the Panthers are, but playing against the Dolphins. But I think in the next coming weeks, of course, with the divisional games coming up, be very important. But one thing it did show me about the Panthers, they beat the Dolphins how they were supposed to beat the Dolphins. It wasn't like it was a last-second field goal to beat the Dolphins. They really, really stuck it to them, and they were supposed to. So I was it was good to see for the Panther fans how they beat the Dolphins, seeing how bad the Dolphins really are. So it was a good warm-up for what's coming up for the Panthers, and it'll be interesting to see moving forward if they can sustain that against the better teams in the NFL.
You know, the one thing about it, to echo to what both you guys said in terms of the Dolphins, let's say if you take that Dolphins game out in terms of it being like an anomaly, like them being a bad team, the one thing that I have noticed is that they are getting a lot more production from other like offensive players. So like, let's take into context Christian McCaffrey. His first 8 games, he only got 2 touchdowns. In his last 3 games, in the last 2 games, he already has 3 touchdowns. So that lets you know that he's starting to become more acclimated in offense, and he's starting to become much more involved for sure.
Well, I feel better about judging Christian McCaffrey when I see him play better defenses, because you're right. He scored more touchdowns the last couple of games, but his last game against Miami, we're right back to where we were talking about before then.
Yeah, but I said if you take
really
that out, he still has 3 touchdowns.
Right. I mean, I don't think he's a bad player. I think they're trying to force him to be great before he figured out the game.
Okay.
He came in as the guy. They're trying to make him a Pro Bowl Offensive Player of the Year. It looks like they're just trying to put everything they can on him, which I don't think is fair to him, because he came in with so much hype. They're trying to force so much. He can't live up to what they're trying to make him do and still learn the speed of the game. They went from the Pac-12 to the NFL. But I think he's doing as good as he can, and he's a good football player, and he's turning into a good professional football player. I think that the second half of the season, the game is slowing down for him. He's starting to understand it. Again, he's starting to get acclimated. He got the consistency. So I think he's just going to get better because he's a smart kid. He went to Stanford. He's not stupid. He's a smart kid, and he was a superstar out there. So he's a good football player. He'll just grow. They're trying to make him the Luke of the offense, and Luke is just a special player.
Coach, we talked about it briefly, the Kelvin Benjamin trade. Some people think that initially it didn't strike people very well. Some people were critical about it. Could this backfire? But it looked like a lot of what they were, the experts, the team, quote, insiders were saying, it cleared out a lot of opportunities, and other guys are now getting involved. It's only been a couple of weeks, but they're 2-0 since the trade, so it seems so far to be working. How do you view that?
Well, I think the good and the bad of especially the Dolphins game was it could be a false sense of security for the Panthers, having played that well against maybe a not so good team. But my thing is a guy like Benjamin, when he's on the field, and Cam's eyes kind of migrated to him because he is so big. And there's certain things he can do as far as possession-wise. He's not going to beat anybody downfield. But as far as getting his body between the defender and the ball, he was great at that. Now, here's my thing. The key to the Panthers moving on, especially passing game, is injuries. If Funchess goes down, Lord forbid, knock on wood, or another one of those guys that just lost Samuels with the ankle injury for the rest of the year. But if they continue to have that pattern of injuries, especially outside at the wide receiver position, it's going to be tough because they're not running the ball that well against high caliber teams.
Exactly.
All right, the Panthers with a bye week. Coach, you didn't have bye weeks when you played. You did play 16 games, right? You weren't in that 14.
No, it was a 14-game guy.
Okay, well, I mean, what would you tell a team like, in the bye week, guys? Apparently, I think they had a light workout yesterday, and I think they have 4 weeks off. They come back for practice over the weekend. If you're a former professional, an NFL football player, what do you do when you have some time off?
You watch a lot of film, first and foremost. You get healthy. You're in the tub, ice tub, sauna, whirlpool. But then again, you watch a lot of film and you start to cram not only for the next game, but probably the next 2 games. Watching a lot of film, getting a scouting report on teams. But for the Panthers, it's going to be it's almost a godsend to have a bye week right now moving into the schedule that they're going to have the rest of the year. So hopefully they take advantage of it as far as getting healthy first and then cramming as far as scouting reports and watching film.
JT, what do you got?
You know, it's interesting because I noticed like a narrative, like ever since we started talking about the Panthers today, we've talked about everybody on the offensive end. We talked about Cam Newton, we talked about McCaffrey, we talked about Jonathan Stewart. Well, you did mention Luke Kuechly for a quick bit, Curtis Samuel. I tell you what, the defense, they have been playing outstanding. They're the only team in the NFL that hasn't given up more than 400 yards in a game. They are still a top-notch defense, and I think that as long as the offense can still round into form, they will be a very tough out if and when they make the playoffs.
All right, and we got more NFL to talk about, plus we've got college football, even some NASCAR. We got Wayne Wilson here, so you know we're going to talk to Alan Dietz is around here somewhere. So we got plenty of NASCAR, college football, even some college basketball to talk about. That's coming up more on Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Welcome back to Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Coach David Davis, William Wilson, John Tobias, JT. Guys, Minnesota General Manager Rick Spielman expresses concern in an interview. He thinks it's inappropriate that Greg Olson's going to be in the booth for the Sunday's Vikings-Ram game. Do you think, JT, you're in the booth, you're on Stat Cruise, you're at a game almost every day, well, depending on the sport, but you're on a lot of you're with the Chiefs in preseason. Do you think it could present an unfair advantage for a current NFL player to be in the booth calling a game a team that he could be playing against, like the Vikings, because they play them next month right here at the Bank of America Stadium?
And a one-word answer, yes. 2 words, absolutely yes. And because what happens is
Rick Spielman wants to talk to you.
Well, because what happens is that whenever you have any type of broadcasters who broadcast the game, that Friday they end up having team meetings to where they sit on the team meetings at times. They end up sitting down with the coaches. The coaches go over the game plan. And I think if you have someone that's actually playing, if he participates in that,
can they shield him from that? I mean, he's not going to get to go to their practice, are they?
They could. If they alter it, then I don't see anything wrong with it. But if it's normally to where the sideline reporter, the play-by-play broadcaster, the color analyst, yeah, they had privy to information to where most of us just aren't privy to.
So hypothetically, someone could bribe you because you were in there.
No, man, no.
I'm not saying you could be bought, but you may be able to be rented.
Maybe will, but not me.
Well, you need to get some of that money.
He told me I had no morals or ethics.
No, man, you got great integrity, man. It's all in fun. But I can totally see how it can be a conflict of interest. Coach, what do you think?
Totally agree. Not only that, he's getting paid to do it.
Yes.
And when you're a broadcaster to prepare for the games, just like a player, you have a scouting report. You get, tendencies and everything based on the team that you're going to broadcast on. So now he just gets an extra look at those numbers, at those players and things they do. And again, he's getting paid to do that. So I definitely think it's an advantage for Olson. And he's a smart guy. He's going to use it to his advantage, if given that opportunity. He'd be a fool not to. But then again, I just think it's a wrong call for right now, him being an active player.
Hey, Will, what do you think about the Buffalo Bills benching Tyrod Taylor, my man from Virginia Tech, Hampton, Virginia, in favor of Nathan Peterman, a fifth-round draft pick out of Pittsburgh? I saw Nate play last year against North Carolina in a game. He looks good, but he's a fifth-round draft pick. Tyrod Taylor, to me, is an established mid-tier at least NFL quarterback. I think it was a panic decision by the coaching staff. Where do you fall down on Tyrod Taylor getting benched?
Well, I think, at this point, do they really have a lot to lose? He's a fifth-round pick, but Tom Brady was a sixth-round pick. Tony Romo was a fourth-round pick.
Russell Wilson was a third-round pick.
Russell Wilson was a third-round pick. So they may see a diamond rough. There may be something they see in practice that we don't see. Plus, it gives you a chance to really see what he's looking at. So if he can't play in the league, you don't carry that extra. That's a guy you can take off and not carry him through training camp next year. Or you can see what you need to work on. So it gives you a chance to try that out and give you potentially some depth. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that, especially if Tyrod Taylor's really not producing the way you need him to and you don't see that future. I mean, McDermott, he's still new there. So he's still trying to figure out what he has. The best way to find out what he has is trial by fire.
And let me real quick. I'm sorry, John.
No, go.
I have a problem with it for a couple of reasons. A lot of reasons, actually. 2 weeks ago, they were 5-2, and it wasn't a problem. Yeah. He didn't get terrible within 2 weeks. As a coach, you want to evaluate everything, not only your quarterback position, but is he making bad throws? Is he making bad decisions? I don't think that's true. You got to look at them giving up, close to 400 yards. The defense giving up 400 yards a game. You got to look at the running game, the line, the sacks, and things like that. He didn't get terrible overnight.
No.
And that's my only problem. And it just goes to show in the league as a whole, there are some quarterbacks, especially at a quarterback position, who are on short strings. There are guys in the league who couldn't hold a candle to Tyrod Taylor, but they still, week in and week out, lose football
Absolutely.
games based on their performances.
Carson Palmer.
So I think I think the coach, being a new coach, just kind of got a little antsy.
Right.
For whatever reason, like you said, they see things in practice we don't see.
Right.
But they were 5-2 2 weeks ago.
Right, Coach. I was very surprised, real quick, because like you said, they were 5-2. Now I could see if they were like the Browns, or like to where like they really don't have anything to lose. But like you said, they're 5-2. They were 5-2 since then. They're 5-4. Now some people could say, well, right now the Bills' offense in terms of their passing is 30th in the league. Tyrod Taylor's only thrown for like 1,800 yards in like these past like 9 games. But at the same time, they have a really good running back in LaShawn McCoy. And I just don't think if you have a winning record 9 games into the season that you make a quarterback change. Now, to Will's point, he may be Tom Brady in terms of the guy from Pitt. I mean, like, we never know, but I was just as shocked as everyone else when they made that change.
Yeah, well, see, my thing is, and I see what both of you guys are saying, and I don't disagree with it. But like I said, they were 5-2, but they're going backwards right now. Sometimes in basketball, you see that coach just goes out, he gets a tech just to motivate his team. This will be one of those things where say, we're going to bring him in to light a fire under Tyrod, shake some things up, stir some things up. We do it in NASCAR all the time. We'll swap a pit crew guy over mid-race. We'll swap a jack man, we'll swap a front tire carrier because we need to change some stuff up, change the energy.
But you're not pulling Jeff Gordon for Robbie Gordon.
So you need to do some of those types of things. So maybe one of those things he does it for half a game. Next thing you know, we see Tyrod Taylor back, or next game, or Tyrod could be hurt and we just don't know.
Well, you're not pulling Chad Canals for Fatback
His press
McSwing.
conferences, he's not hurt physically. He's hurt mentally right now, big time. He's not hurt physically. But my thing is, as a coach, you got to look at the body of work of your team. Like Dan Marino, one of the, to me, greatest quarterback ever. But
Absolutely.
he would score 41 points and lose. That doesn't mean Dan Marino's a bad quarterback.
No, not at all.
Be pinched for the other for Peterson, the Eagles coach, So that's not the case. And I think in this case, you have to look at what that line is doing, what their defense is doing, and other miscellaneous things instead of just jerking.
All right, we've got much more coming up. College football rankings, the how does it shake out playoff-wise? Some college basketball, NASCAR, and much, much more on Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Welcome back to Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Kevin Casey along with John Tobias, William Wilson, Coach David Davis. Guys, latest playoff rankings are out. Maybe some surprises, maybe not to some people. We've got number 2 Clemson and looks like Miami are locked into play in the ACC championship game. JT, you made an interesting point off the air. You think that Miami better watch themselves playing the Virginia Cavaliers this weekend.
Yes. Well, first off, much props to the Hurricanes because it looks like that the U is back to a certain extent. I mean, Michael Irvin's not going to walk through that door. Alonzo Highsmith, Warren Sapp.
I hope Michael Irvin doesn't walk through that door.
But they look so good. Like they dominated Virginia Tech. Coach and Will. They dominated Notre Dame. But
I hate to hear that.
But I
right.
really do feel that this game coming up against UVA is a trap game. I honestly would not be surprised, and I'm not throwing shade at the U, but I just see how it goes. And, Coach, you would know more so than me having, being currently a coach, to where this is like a typical trap game. They have all the hype, all the fanfare. I think there's a good chance that they may go down this Saturday.
It's going to be a very good football game in that regard as far as being a trap game. But I have a lot of confidence in Coach Rick. To me, and it's just something about a guy who coaches his alma mater and what it means to him is having that job. As far as motivating his team, he knows how to do that. But when you are Miami and you just got off a big win Notre Dame and you're looking at possibly the ACC championship game and a chance at a national championship, they may go into the Virginia game with blinders on. Now, having said that, if I'm Virginia's coach, that's one thing I'm preaching to them. If we're at our best Saturday, we can beat this team because they're overlooking us. If they're not on their toes, we can come out this thing, smelling like roses. So it is a trap game, most definitely. But I think Miami, and I'm a fan of Coach Rick. And I think he'll make them rise to the challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to overlook UVA at all. I think Miami approaches every game exactly the same. I don't think Miami even pays attention to who they're playing. I think to them, it's that old swag of the U is back. To them, it's just who we're going to destroy this week. They got and Mark Richt has done a good job. They got the big turnover chain and all this stuff. He feeds into what the Eagles they already have. These players aren't competing against the players across the ball from them. They're competing against each other. The defensive guys, I want to be the guy who takes home. I want to take on that big U chain. I want to bring home this. I want to bring home this. They want to be the best on their team. They're competing against each other. Whoever's on the other side of them tends to be the unfortunate victim of the ego, the swagger, the finesse. And Coach Richt has touched into the core of who they are as millennials and as athletes to push against them. So they're not overlooking them. They're no different. UVA is no different than Notre Dame to these kids.
Hey, Will, do you if you get a new suit from William Wilson Clothing, you get a turnover chain, you get one of the big gold chains, you get that?
That would be no.
No? It costs extra. It's not part of the deal. You got to pay extra for that.
And I will tell you something else is going to be important. One of the biggest things about winning a national championship is the seeding going into the Final Four. So I think Miami has a great chance to run up the score and play a great game against Virginia, and coming out of this week, move ahead of Clemson. Clemson's playing a Citadel team that, strength of schedule and everything that
Watch out for that
looks
triple option.
is not that high.
Well, I think they should be ahead of them anyway right
exactly.
now, Coach.
So if Miami puts up a big number and plays a great game, they could actually get the number 2 seed, which is very, very important moving into the
Our rankings are number 1 Alabama, Clemson's number 2. Right now Miami is 3, Oklahoma 4. Wisconsin, undefeated Wisconsin. The Badgers are number 5. And Auburn with 2 losses. Don't count out the SEC. Number 6. Georgia's somewhere around there. I'm kind of with you, JT. I think Miami should be higher than Clemson. They're going to settle it on the field. And I think Wisconsin should be in the top 4. And if they win the Big 12 or whatever, however many teams they got in that league, they call themselves the Big 10. If they win out, win the league, they're undefeated, they're in the playoff.
I can see them not being in the top 4 right now because they haven't played anybody. But I do agree with you, since the Big Ten is a powerful conference, even though they haven't played Ohio State yet, they haven't played Penn State yet, they will play Michigan this Saturday. If they do win out, because if they go to the Big Ten championship, they will play, either Penn State or Ohio State. And
of course, for something like Will says,
then I definitely think that
Arkansas and LSU
they deserve
play
it.
for something called the boot or whatever that is. And in the Big Ten, they're Wisconsin and Michigan border each other, so they're playing for something like an axe or something. I don't know, Paul Bunyan's, or there's all some shenanigans.
That's the
going
game
on
against Minnesota.
All right. Well, so you know all these things. That's why you're here.
Well, and let me explain the boot to you. When you put Arkansas and Louisiana, because they border each other, when you put them both together, they look like a big boot. That's why they call it the boot game.
There you go.
It's a big, huge trophy that it takes at least 3 people to carry.
And you know what, Kevin? I think the 2 teams who are in a relaxed but anxious position are Wisconsin and Auburn, because of Miami and Clemson at some point will have to play each other. So one of them are going to go. But I really, really have confidence in Auburn as far as beating Alabama last game
Because of how they
Iron Bowl,
whipped Georgia.
Without a doubt. I totally think that Auburn can beat Alabama. And like I said, they're relaxed, but they're anxious. I think
Auburn wins that
Wisconsin
game.
and Auburn
They're in
are
the
those 2
championship
teams.
game against, I would imagine, Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Yes.
Yes.
So Georgia's they've already clinched the East.
And I got to tell you, I was wrong. I thought Georgia made the biggest mistake they could possibly make when they let Mark Richt go. I was like, this was just stupid. These guys winning games.
Kirby Smart's a good coach.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting
Both
to see
teams
what
won.
Smart does 3 to 4 years from now with that Georgia team. Right now, he's winning with Rick players.
Right,
now,
true.
his philosophies and everything is in place. Don't get me wrong, but those are Mark Rick guys, and Mark Rick is winning with 2 teams right now, Georgia and Miami.
Well, I can just tell you
That's
right
true.
now, from a guy who played for Alabama from Myers Park, Blaine Anderson, now assistant football coach for the Myers Park Mustangs. Coach Smart, he saw him every day in practice for 5 years. He says Kirby Smart's going to be a good football coach. We still got more, even NASCAR to talk about. That's coming up next from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill on Talking About Sports. Welcome back to Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Coach David Davis, William Wilson, John Tobias, and JT, they're talking. So how about you? What do you think? NC State, Wake Forest.
They're talking business.
I've seen, business money does
No,
talk.
I didn't know he
true.
played in the NFL.
Yeah.
I thought
Houston
I
Oilers.
was coaching basketball.
You missed the Open.
No,
When I said Houston
that's
Oilers.
how I found out he played in the NFL. From your Open, it's one of the few things you said that was relevant to listen to.
That's why I'm here.
Just now.
But when he first played in my, I know he tried to. I just got him back. So, but no, first time I met him, he played in my golf tournament, and him and Dale played in it. So, and I know he's coaching basketball.
You don't know
So-
everybody who plays in your own golf tournament?
No.
Oh, I know it's big, man. I know it's worldwide. I'm
Sometimes
just saying.
people bring people in. Dale,
exactly right.
Dale brought him in. Said,
They
Dale
play
said, hey,
36 holes a day.
What?
Him and Dell play golf
I'm
all
sorry,
the
I'm not
time.
his secretary. I don't stalk people like some people do. I have a life to live outside of.
Well, you're making
this.
money, man. You live up in the penthouse with George Jefferson, man. I mean, you're making it. NC State, Wake Forest, JT. I've seen both teams in person. I think NC State's got better personnel, but I think the lower the score, it favors Wake Forest.
I totally agree. And the thing about it is that Dave Dorn coming into the season, he was considered to be like on the hot seat,
Under fire.
Under fire for sure. And they've had some tough losses. They should have beat South Carolina in week 1. Of course, they got beat down by Notre Dame. But with the Clemson game a couple of weeks ago, they were like in that game. So I think that they're going to bounce back, and I think they're going to beat Wake Forest, even though Winston's my hometown. But also Wake Forest. They
You ever been to Mountain Fried Chicken?
I have several times.
That's my
But the
spot.
thing about it is, though, is that Wake Forest, they scored like 60-some points against Syracuse. It's Syracuse,
It's like a basketball
but
game.
By scoring that many points, Dave Clawson, I think that he has really brought the Deeks back almost to prominence.
Yeah, I think
them,
NC State right
yes.
now. Go ahead, Will. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're good.
No, I'm saying
For them,
No, no,
I agree. If you put it in context, I agree totally.
I think NC State right now is playing for a little bit more because they want to play in a pretty good bowl game. And I think the Wake Forest game is a stepping stone to that. You got to realize NC State has 2 maybe first-round draft picks on the defensive side of the ball. One of them could be actually ACC Player of the Year. Most likely Defensive Player of the Year.
Bradley Chubb?
So I think Dorn is doing a great job, and I think he's bringing that, we're going to fight into the end back into NC State. But Wake Forest, man, is one of those scary teams because you can overlook them based on who they are. Sometimes you play against a name instead of the people on the field. A lot of times teams win because of who they are with the name across their jersey. And I think right now Wake Forest is doing a great job as far as erasing that. We're not that Wake Forest of, we're not your dad's Wake Forest. We're the new Wake Forest that's going to fight in all the games and play good ACC football.
Yeah, they're a team. They're a squad full of Rudies. They are. They just,
Good point.
they have nothing to lose, everything to win. The expectations aren't that high. And there's a little chip on their shoulder about that. They're like, no, you're not going to just disrespect us, because they still have pride in who they are. And they feel like they can win some of these games. They're like, no, you're not going to just walk in, just walk over us and disrespect us. That pride is coming in there.
Yeah, and I've seen some mock draft stuff, NFL stuff, and they got this NC State quarterback ranked up there pretty high as far as the draft is concerned.
Yeah, Ryan Finley.
Yeah, and he does a great job of controlling a game and things like that. Not sure about the arm strength and elusiveness in the pocket, but NC State's doing it on both sides of the ball, and that's the reason why their record is what it is.
Well, before we move on to Alabama, shout out to Will. You met our man Billy Ray Barnes down at one of the celebrity golf tournaments. Played for Wake Forest in the 50s. Was the 1960 Philadelphia Eagles NFL champions. Ed Bradley from Wake Forest played for 2 Super Bowl champions up at for the Steelers, and Roman Gabriel, of course, everyone knows him from the Rams.
Love Roman.
And he was the NC State guy. So we talked about Alabama earlier. They look like they took some shots upon them. If they were a boxer, they took a lot of shots to the body against Mississippi State. You're working Mississippi State this weekend?
Yes.
Against Arkansas?
Yes.
What do you think of Alabama? Maybe have they been exposed? Or is there a way that maybe Auburn and some of these other teams down the line are going to say that how they're going to attack them?
I'm going to use something to what Coach said when he was talking about the Panthers at the beginning of segment 1 in terms about injuries and attrition. How you talked about that in terms of like offense with the Panthers. Well, defensively, that's what it is when it comes to Alabama. They've already lost, 2 to 3 of their starters to like season-ending injuries. And of course, Alabama's been known, Nick Saban's been known as like the guy on the defensive end. And I think that this will hurt them from an attrition standpoint, especially if you're dealing with like mobile quarterbacks or high prolific offenses, like Auburn, especially like Oklahoma. I definitely think that it could affect them, and I'm not penciling them in automatically, to win the national championship. I'm just not.
Right. But I think the only thing that separates college from the pros, in the pros there's usually a whole lot of drop off between your starters and your second string guys because it's money involved. Nick Saban has been Nick Saban for a long time. His third string defensive player could start anywhere else in the country. So there's not as much fall off. It's just a matter of reps and familiarity and getting used to the speed of SEC football versus whatever, the high school or whatever. So I don't think you're going to see as much drop off. They built some of that continuity because it was far enough in the season where they started losing some of their guys. I think they may not dominate you, but I think they're still going to beat you because every week we're saying Alabama took some hits. Every week Alabama lost somebody else. Every week with this, but they still keep beating people. Because that's how you develop championships. That's how you get those guys ready. Because they're battle tested at this point.
All right, Coach, Butch Jones has been fired from Tennessee, as Will mentioned earlier, previous shows. Anybody in the phone book is a candidate to replace him, but I'm not in the phone book. I wish I was, because I wouldn't mind having that job. But one guy, there's a report out today, not substantiated by anybody, but a report that said John Gruden is talking to other college coaches, gauging interest about a potential coaching staff at Tennessee. So what do you see? I think he's crazy to take Tennessee. I think they have a derangement syndrome. They and Nebraska thinking they're relevant and they can win it all every year. But, I mean, what do you think of the coaching situation at Tennessee?
Well, I'm not in John Gruden's mind, but I would never do it. Being in the position he is now with his TV gigs and consulting and things like that, the recruiting life in college is probably the most overbearing. Coaching the game is coaching the game, but the recruiting, being out on the road, talking to kids, families, and things like that's what really takes its toll on you. I really think that Tennessee may look internal as far as an alum.
What about T. Martin at Southern Cal?
T. Martin would be a great choice for there to bring some stability back to the program and have one of their own in there. Again, we talked about Mark Richt earlier being at the U. There's something special about coaching at your alma mater. And I think T. Martin would be a great choice for that. Not only to bring a good football mind in, but a great volunteer mind. And I know the fan base would rally around him big time.
And the Heisman, JT, you're at a college game every week. What do you think about the Heisman? I still think Lamar Jackson has done nothing to diminish himself from winning it last year. He's done to be the man, you got to beat the man. I don't think anybody's putting up better stats, but he's not the flavor of choice, at least in the media right now.
Well, he hasn't done anything,
his
bad,
defense sure has.
But the defense has. The defense is awful, and actually his numbers are better this year.
Shouldn't be held against him
than last year. Yeah, but I mean, I really can't think of any person that's won the Heisman that, that's had like a mediocre 500 record as a team. But these things, guys, they ebb and flow because at the beginning of the season it was all about Saquon Barkley because he really balled out. I wish that our own Reggie Walker was here, But now it's all about Baker Mayfield. He's been balling out, but I still don't think that there has been a clear-cut favorite as of right now to where you can pencil it in. I still think it could be anyone that can win the Heisman, in my opinion.
Man, this is kind of out of my realm of expertise, but as a layperson,
anybody from Arkansas?
Anybody from Arkansas? They got anybody?
No, I hate to admit it. No, we don't.
Darren McFadden name's still around. Yeah, they got Malik Monk in the squirrel hunt.
Yeah. but typically, as me as a guy that's outside looking in, usually there's that one or two players that you hear people talk about all the time, and there's no clear-cut person that everyone consensus is saying this guy should win the Heisman. So I agree with you. From an outside looking in, not hearing any real buzz about anybody, I think it's still up for grabs.
Coach,
I agree with
think,
JT,
Coach?
man. I think Baker Mayfield's probably a front runner right now. He's winning football games. He's putting up good numbers, and he has that charisma about him to lead a football team, and has done it for a long period of time. We talked about Deshaun Watson before. Mayfield has been in the top 5 Heisman finalists before himself, and he's putting up great numbers now, and they're winning. So I'm going to go not out on a limb, but I think Mayfield may be the front runner right now. Of course, like Kevin said, Jackson hadn't done anything to hurt his chances because he's putting up great numbers also. But they're not winning football games, and a lot of the voters do and want to see that guy win the Heisman who's a winner.
Absolutely.
On the field.
Well,
no fault of his, though. No fault of his.
As we get ready to go to a break, I think Baker Mayfield I think he's had a great year. He's probably going to be one of the top guys selected in the draft. Sam Darnold, who's the guy from UCLA?
Josh Rosen?
Yeah, Rosen. So these are some guys that the NFL teams, looks like Cleveland's, again, on the clock. So maybe they'll pass on another good quarterback. We've got one more segments. We've got college basketball to talk about. That's coming up next on Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Welcome back to Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. John Tobias, William Wilson, Coach David Davis, and Alan Dietz, our NASCAR insider here. Tell us about how he hates Duke in North Carolina,
Yeah.
loves the South Carolina Gamecock. You say they played, who'd they play, Illinois State
They
last
played
night?
Illinois State last night in a tournament at Coastal Carolina. So basically a home game in Conway, and lost.
So that's the Puerto Rico tournament, right, JT?
Yes.
All right, well,
Yes.
I like Duke. They have their former announcer, Bob Harris, good friend of mine. I think they look good. They look definitely good against the number 2 team, Michigan State, another well-coached ball club. What we like about Duke, and I think they have all the elements, raw materials. A lot can happen between now and April, but I like what Duke's got so far.
Well, Grayson Allen looked really good. He balled out against Michigan State. He scored 37 points.
He didn't trip anybody, did he?
He didn't trip anybody. He didn't trip. But you know what, though? Duke seems
Season's
like that
young.
they're no different.
Give him time. He's always tripping.
Yeah. They look no different, in my opinion, as opposed to other years. Like recently, and this is what I mean. Like, it's always Grayson Allen and freshmen. Like, Grayson Allen and freshmen, this year they're a little bigger, but Grayson Allen and freshmen last year when it was Harry Giles and Jason Tatum, Frank Jackson. The year before that, it was Grayson Allen and Brandon Ingram. So that part hasn't stayed, has stayed the same. But to me, Coach, it seems like that they are a little bit bigger with Marvin Bagley on a board.
Yeah, and it shows. I almost fell off the sofa the other night to see Duke play a zone. Coach K is up tempo, put a little pressure, bringing the ball coming up the court. But to see him play zone, that's an adjustment he's made as a coach, and that's a sign of a great coach. He didn't need to do that to prove he was great. But you have to make adjustments along the way with what you got, and he's done that by playing zone. They're big. This is probably his longest team. From point to center, as far as the height and length of these guys. And sometimes you can get caught up in being 6'10", 6'9". That's your height, but that's not your length. And he has great length now. That's why he's playing kind of a matchup zone a la Syracuse and doing a great job. Offensively, they're not going to shoot the ball as well as they have in the past. They don't have the shooters, but they're going to punch the ball inside, and I guarantee you they're going to make you pay if you double down on those post guys. And they're going to knock down shots when they have to. And they're only going to get better as the season goes along because they're young and they're learning on-the-job training, so to speak. And they got one of the best coaches in the world.
I think he's the best.
Barring injury, again, they're going to be right there when it ends in March, probably.
Coach, what about the defending champs, North Carolina? I don't count them out.
Well, I think Carolina's going to struggle when it comes to the athleticism and then the bench. Duke can bring
And going to
in
class.
Yeah, they're going to go to class. May not be the classes that are accredited, but they're going to go to class.
Oh, we're getting some academic fraud here. I think they were cleared from all that.
No, they were clear. They were cleared. And like NCAA, rightfully so, they had regular students taking those classes, not just athletes. So
Rashad
we just
McCants is
can't-
on the line.
When things happen, the athletes are put on the front burner, which is totally wrong. But yeah, Carolina's not going to be as good. I don't think they're national championship good. Joel Berry's there. I worked with Joel for years in Florida.
He's not playing Miss
Orlando.
Pac-Man, is he?
Yeah, he's going to be he's going to be solid. But they're not the same team, man. They didn't look the same the other night, and I don't think they're going to be there at the end of the year.
No matter how solid Joel Berry is, the wall that he punched is a lot more solid than his hand. JT. We talked to Coach. You went to NC State before you transferred to Baylor. What do you think about NC State? They got a new coach. They have to hopefully they like the direction they're going.
Yeah, anything new and fresh is exciting, and right now they're exciting. Local guy, Alaric Freeman, who played at Olympic High School, finished up his 4 years at Baylor, had a grad year, now is at NC State. I think they're doing something differently offensively. They're getting up and down the court more. I will go on the record right now and tell you that NC State is probably the most athletic team in the ACC. Not the best basketball team, but they're the most athletic. And they're going to give people trouble because they can get up and down the court, and they can shoot fairly well also.
All right, Will, let me ask you this. UCLA players released after being detained for China, accused of stealing, shoplifting. You're either Steve Alford, the head coach, or you're the chancellor at UCLA or the Pac-12 commissioner. What's their punishment?
They should be thrown off the team, plain and simple. The fact that they should be thrown off the team. And kill me with this BS about, they're young. 10-year-olds know you don't steal. You're going over there, you represent your school, you represent your country. You went over there.
You don't think the Chinese government framed them, do you? I mean, there are a lot of
the Chinese government said, let's just
on.
make you steal some Louis Vuitton glasses.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean,
they should be off the team. Period. Dot.
William,
It's
made in China.
The only reason, and let's just be real. Let's just cut through the BS. If Ball wasn't one of the 3 people that was involved in that, the other 2 would be gone off the team already. The only reason they're still on this team, and that BS. Indefinite suspension. That means once the season starts getting tough, we can bring him back because we didn't say he was gone and we didn't give him a set amount of time. It's just nonsense. If Ball wasn't one of the 3 people arrested, those other 2 guys who none of us can name their names would be off this squad already. Ball's the only reason they're still on it. And if Ball wasn't the player he is and the name he was, if he was anybody else, he'd be off this team.
William, how important?
Lee Angelo Ball, is that his name?
I'm sorry, you're going to say
I'm sorry. Well,
no, go for
I had
it.
a question. How important is it for the coach? You say throw him off the team to maintain control of his team and discipline to do what you said to get rid of them, or if they don't, how does that affect the team? You think?
I think you set a precedent that says this guy is above the law. Like literally, internationally is above the law. You said it. Not only do I kick him off the team for one to maintain the integrity and the reputation of the university itself.
What do you want to send him to North Korea for a week?
Athletes. They weren't in North Korea, they were in China.
Well, I'm saying you want to send him there as punishment. You want to kick him off the team, play with Rodman, and get a group of guys go to North Korea?
No, I didn't say you double punish them, but no, you kicked them off of your team.
One thing you got to realize, too, one thing that upset me, I read somewhere where they stole 3 separate times.
Yeah, 3 different stores. These were high-profile stores.
In China, and they were there on a goodwill tour. Now, what you have to realize, not only they were representing the basketball team, but it's just like when you're in high school, you go on a field trip and mess up. You were reprimanded by your school also. And that's something the UCLA has to look into.
Got it from my old man when I got home, I guarantee you that.
And the problem with Steve Alford, the problem he has right now is he wants them to stay because of this. If they don't play this year, they're going to transfer. They're going to look somewhere else to go to college. So he has that bearing on him, and it's out of his hands. He can sit in the president's office every day for the next month and a half, but it's still up to the university to put the final say-so on what should happen.
Right, and I agree. I think that this is above Steve Alford.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Dan Guerrero, who's the AD for UCLA, I think it's even maybe even above him. This is a classic situation to where the coverage is bigger than the crime. Of course, it's not good to shoplift, but the coverage to where you have like all this media attention. President Trump tweeting about
not just sports, it's news.
President Trump tweeting about it being on the Today Show, Good Morning America. When it becomes such a bigger issue to where it really, really puts a black eye
over there
on UCLA as a university, he's not over there yet, then that's when I think clearly that the coverage is worse than the crime, to where it really, really, to your point, it really, really hurts them. And with LeVar Ball and the ball coverage, it's a bad look on Americans in general.
Exactly. And you look at, was it Tennessee State, where the player punched the coach?
Knocked him out.
He got kicked off the team, and the school kicked him out of the school. He got off the team and expelled.
They've been prosecuted,
and he should have been. But these kids, they committed a crime too. They went overseas and stole stuff they didn't even need to.
Well, if you want to look at it from a legal standpoint, stealing
Gloria
can be a
Allred's available.
misdemeanor.
Yes.
Assault is a felony.
So can drunk driving.
You're exactly, yeah. But when you're dealing with international law, it's their laws. It's not American
You might get
laws
caned. In
coming to
Singapore,
play.
they give you the cane.
So my thing is, Steve
my house, they
Alford's
give you
in a
the
belt.
belt.
Place.
My old man would give me the belt.
The school is in a tough place because if they suspend these kids for the rest of the year, those kids are going to transfer. And also as a parent and as a player for the future, Are you going
wait
to
a
go to
minute.
UCLA if they
My-
kick
my
these
man's
kids
here.
off the team? Are you going to go
Oh,
to
that's something more
UCLA
important
if your
still in-
kid makes a mistake and he has a chance of getting kicked out?
But no, but it's not just a mistake. They stole.
Hey, forget about stealing.
They made
Look
a
what's coming
decision.
More
now.
importantly,
They didn't make a
guys,
mistake. They made a decision.
Yeah, they stole.
right
Three
on,
times.
right on.
Three
My
times.
man's here, James King.
Forget about
Dilworth Neighborhood
stealing.
Grill.
Trying to eat
Got
some
my
wings.
special
Yeah,
Wisconsin Badger beer cheese.
Whoa.
The going to be in the college playoff. Wisconsin Badgers beer cheese. I love it. Do we have a James? We got any?
Do your thing.
We got any
Thank you so
Wisconsin
much.
viewing parties coming up?
Oh,
Are you
yes,
gonna have the
sir.
Badgers on TV any days?
We got wings. We got nachos.
We got Will's here. We got some nachos, wings. James, come on over here. James, tell us what we got here. And I think I wrote down our top apps. Wings, nachos, house potato chips, pretzels with my Wisconsin Badger beer cheese. Quesadilla, always order the bacon, right?
I left my wallet at the office.
Faces
It
and
gives it a
napkins.
different texture.
My wallet's at the office.
It's a award-winning
wallet.
dish there. So this
Willie
weekend
William
we have
Bach.
Wisconsin playing Michigan to go undefeated and possibly break in the top 4. We have the alumni here every week. They just re-signed for their basketball season. You know they're always a basketball powerhouse, so let's see if that continues. Oh, okay. Well, you're going to learn.
Nacho
You're gonna learn hanging
Hayes?
around Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. But we also have a fantastic Panther season ahead of us. Some of you may debate that.
These wings are banging.
Two shuttles every Sunday. Excellent brunch. We just got hammered last week, so get here early.
It's a sports bar. Everyone gets hammered
Get
here,
hammered as you
except me because I
travel.
don't drink.
Free beer on the bus, and I'm gonna talk right into the mic. Absolutely, free beer on the bus. Yeah, you probably want to ride, but if you're adventuresome, it's nice out. You probably even walk if you wanted. So come on down to Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Try out some of these appetizers.
Barbecue pork dish.
Ah, that's my winner. That's my winner. Every Wednesday, half off bottles of wine. Get it with the barbecue pork platter. It's awesome. It's awesome.
All right, guys, you heard that. Will, you can don't let any of these guys come.
Thank you.
We're gonna get some. We got all this stuff coming here. Don't let any of these guys come into the William Wilson Clothing and steal anything. They might get a switch before somebody calls the law. So we still got NASCAR to talk about.
You come steal in my house, you're gonna wish you got cane.
There you go. So we got Alan here, Will, Coach David Davis, JT in the house. We got NASCAR coming up right here on the Talk About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Welcome back to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. James King's here, thanks to my Wisconsin Badger beer cheese, the wings, quesadillas, nachos, everything here. Our final segment is NASCAR. It's all on the line this week. The Final Four is set. The guy leading the way, Martin Truex, I think he's had the best season. It'd be fitting if he'd win, but it's still the guy who finishes the highest out of the top 4 of Brad Keselowski, defending champion Kyle Busch, former champion Kyle Busch, former champion Keselowski, and the guy with the best season, Martin Truex. Alan, what do you think going into Miami, Homestead?
Well, I would like for it to be Truex, but I think Kyle Busch is going to be awfully hard to beat.
Joe Gibbs Racing.
And I think part of what is going to benefit him is he's raced for a championship before, just like Keselowski and Harvick has. But the fact that he's in a Toyota, and these Toyotas have been so good this year, especially on mile-and-a-half racetracks. Truex can finish second. But if one of those 3 guys finishes ahead of him, he's going to lose the championship.
Any of these guys' teammates reckon any of these other guys? It has been known to happen.
Well, see, again, that's where Busch and Truex both being Toyotas.
Eddie Hamlin's wrecked guys before this year, a couple weeks ago.
You got aggressive guys there. I think all 3 of the guys other than Truex are probably more aggressive and have
Dirty.
been willing to take. They've had their moments. They've had their moments. But I think the fact that Busch and Truex in those Toyotas are working closely together. I think the engines are Joe Gibbs engines.
Yeah, they come
the crew came from Joe Gibbs Racing. But at the end of the day, I don't think that'll play into it. I think the Toyotas will be at an advantage.
Will, we talked about it could be, like things, just because you have the fastest car, you lead the most laps, doesn't mean you always win the race.
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt was looking to win a Daytona 500. He cut a tire, and Derek Cope wins. So, and you explained how you guys in the Truck Series should have had a second title. You have the big ring from your title that you did win.
Yep.
You had a great race. It came down to the last stop. You had a great pit stop, but
Yeah, Ted spun the tires on the restart. I mean, that's the thing with NASCAR. All 4 of these guys can end up not finishing this race.
Right.
That's you can get caught up in somebody else's wreck, blow a tire. Anything can happen.
The
That's
guy
the
who
beauty.
finishes 37th could win the points if the other 3 finish behind him.
Exactly. It could very well end that way. And that's the beautiful thing about this, and the craziest thing about this. But you basically got 2 Joe Gibbs cars in here.
Yeah.
Because, for all intent and purposes, Martin Truex is driving the 5th Joe Gibbs car. They get the engines from him, the motor, it's everything.
Yeah.
Basically a satellite team. But I think that may give the advantage to Kyle, because if I'm Joe Gibbs, if I know I got 2 motors that dyno out, and one's a couple horsepower faster, is going to my guy, not the other one. But Martin is just these mile-and-a-half tracks. Martin has been a beast.
Yeah, but this is a track that they don't ever race at. This is the only time they race at it. It's not shaped like the other mile and a half. It's got progressive banking. And the other thing is, if you look at, I think it was Joey Logano last year. He had a bad pit stop right at the end of the race. You can dominate the race and say you get a late caution. It comes out with 5-10 laps to go. You stay out. You don't take tires. You do take tires. You have a bad pit stop. All of those things could factor into the end of this race.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point, Coach. What'd you have to do?
You guys who are racing aficionados, I'm not, since Earnhardt, since Junior's not in the finals, I don't care. But out of the top 4 drivers, who's had the best finishes at the track in the past?
They only race this track once a year, so I think it's probably of the 4, probably Busch, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'd say probably Busch or Harvick.
Yeah.
One or the other.
And can you see?
But Harvick's problem, Harvick always seems to have a problem with his pit stop. His crew lets him down at least once a race.
Can you see does it happen in racing? Like somebody mentioned teammates, that guy who's in 22nd position, accidentally.
Accidentally.
Yes.
It could happen. It could happen, and it can be just as subtle as I think Kyle Busch has got 2 teammates in the race.
Yeah, 3.
3 teammates. That's right, 3 teammates in the race. Keselowski's got 2 if you count Blaney. Harvick's got 3, and the thing is, it could be as subtle as this. Say Kyle Busch comes into the pits and stops, but Joey Logano's pitted right in front of him and pits in a way where it's going to slow him down just a second or a second and a half getting out of those pits.
He short pits.
I mean, it's little things like that.
Yeah. There's so many things you can short pit somebody. You can not happen to see him wave over. He's going to go on pit road. You just happen to not see him, so you don't let him go on pit road. I mean, there are so many things that you can do. Or good old, put a little chrome bumper on somebody and just something happens to happen. Sometimes you'll see where it's very blatant, like a couple of years ago at Michael Waltrip Racing, where was Boyer, and it cost them big time.
Yeah.
They basically that incident
It shut that
down
team
Michael
down,
Waltrip, the whole race team.
Yeah.
Will,
shut down after
Alan
that.
made a good point. You're talking about the crew. NASCAR is much bigger now with notoriety with this new format. What happened? You're the crew guy. You're the jack man, one of the tire changers, the gas man. It's pressure. It's like it comes down to it's 10 to go. You got a pit stop. The pressure's on these crew guys because the drivers they're all in the top 10. Let's say when it comes down to the last pit stop, these drivers, there's a lot of pressure on these guys, and you've been there.
And William, I think that the crew guys, you could speak to this, have more pressure.
We do, but we have the exact same pressure every stop.
Yeah.
So, we have 11 and a half seconds to do what we do. And that's it. So us messing up at the beginning of the race can be just as catastrophic as us messing up at the end of the race. So it's not like football where, we can kind of take our time, we're going to wear them out, and then get them. No, we have to be spot on every time. So we really don't feel any more pressure at the end of it than we do at the beginning of it. We really don't.
Everybody's got strengths and disadvantages in this deal, and we spoke about some of them. They're all 4 smart. I would say they're 4 the smartest drivers out there. Harvick and Busch are very emotional, which could be a detriment to them. But I'll tell you the one thing about Harvick where he could sneak up on these guys, and he did it at Texas, and it's something that we hadn't seen very often this year. And that is somebody passed Martin Truex late in the race on a mile and a half.
That's
They
very
might
rare.
have figured something out right here at the end of the year that'll help them.
Yeah, now that would be it. But the thing with Kyle Busch, though, Kyle is that Brett Favre kind of guy. He's a
Yeah.
Kyle does not care about taking a chance to split 2 drivers
Right.
and split between them. He still has that bushwhacker kind of just
The
there's a little
bushwhackers.
bit of hole. I'm gonna slide through it. That Dale
Like Luke
Earnhardt
and
kind of
Busch?
talent.
Remember the Bushwhackers?
Yes.
All right. What do you
But-
think? What do you think is the weather going to be a factor? Like, because sometimes it could be a rain. They get to halfway. They're gonna different strategies. Cloudy, sunny, humid. What do you think, Alan?
The thing that always comes into play at Homestead is this race starts during the day at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's going to end at night.
Yep.
And if you're good at the beginning of that race, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be
Kind
good
of
at
like
the
the
end.
600 in a smaller
Yep.
window.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to cool off. It's going to change the track conditions. And I'll tell you one other thing, though, William, to go back to what you're saying. Being a Kyle Busch, will it be a benefit in this race? Or if you look at last year, they talking about throwing haymakers, Joey Logano, Carl Edwards, all of these guys. Jimmy Johnson, you didn't even hear about him in that race, and they basically all took themselves out, and Jimmy Johnson ended up winning the championship.
Yeah, and that could happen.
Yeah.
Especially if you get Kyle and Kevin together.
Right.
Kyle
And
Kevin-
Keselowski. I mean,
Yeah, but Keselowski's because they're all 3 kind of hotheads, but Keselowski's more prone. If somebody's going to give, it'll be Keselowski
Yeah.
first. But I think that's because he grew up. He raced when he first got into racing. He was racing for his family team,
Right.
so he looked at it a little differently than the
Right.
rest of them are. But you're right; they could all take each other out, and in that instance, I think that would benefit Truex. He's going to be the less prone. Plus,
To take chances.
yeah, he's gonna take less chances. But the thing, the thing with Truex though, when Truex is good at a race, he stinks up the race.
Right, yeah.
When his car is good, he's 2 or 3 seconds ahead of everybody.
Right.
They're only close at the restarts. When they got their cars locked in and dialed in,
you can't beat them.
yeah. But like you said, the big thing is who can chase the track. They're gonna be chasing that track all day long because it's gonna cool off. Things are gonna change. And in Miami with that humidity, if they end up getting a big wreck happens and they have to stop and they get a red flag, you could vapor lock.
Right.
All right,
You get
guys,
the-
we're going to take one last break. I want to say thank you to Coach David Davis and John Tobias. You guys are off to parts unknown. Coach Davis probably going to play golf somewhere, and JT off to span the globe with Jim McKay. You're going where this weekend?
Arkansas.
Arkansas, Will's hometown. He told
That's
you,
right.
He told you where to go.
The
He also
Mecca.
tells me where to go, but in a different way.
Any place on Dixie Street, he said. I
Dixon
can't go-
Street, baby.
Yeah, he said I can't
All
go
right.
wrong.
All right, so there you go. We got one more segment.
Woo
to
Pig
go.
Suey.
Well, if Will says so. More Pig Suey and more talking about sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill coming up right now.
I wasn't going to eat anymore, but these too many on there.
I tell you, this is gonna be a good race.
I love it.
I think it is too.
I'm glad it's a late race.
I think I first fell in love in boxing when I was like probably young, like 8 or 10. I used to love watching fights. And I probably begged to go to the gym for 7 or 8 years before I was finally allowed to do it. After starting, like I immediately knew I loved it. Like I'd played other sports in high school and middle school, and they were okay. Like I enjoyed playing football and stuff, but I knew boxing was the thing for me. It's like the ultimate test of mental fortitude, and it requires so much discipline and full dedication. In boxing, if you short yourself in any direction, it's not going to work. As far as training goes, there's basically like 3 parts to what I do. Road work definitely first thing in the morning, so you got time to recover for your next workout. Then I like to do strength work and muscular endurance type stuff. And then in the afternoons, I usually do boxing, which will consist of like bag work, skip rope, sparring, mitt work. But I like to space them all out, so I start early and finish late. I guess you would call my family a fighting family because my father was a fighter. He did a bunch of kickboxing at Brady Cole back in the day. He teaches Muay Thai now and Filipino martial arts. And then my youngest brother had some kickboxing matches. He's still in the gym helping out training and getting me ready. My brother plays a big role in my training because he's my main mid man and gives me sparring work and insight when I'm sparring with other guys, and he gives me a different look at things from the outside because we don't necessarily see things the same way, so it's good to get another opinion. Outside of boxing, I would definitely say that I'm a fitness fanatic. The only thing I really like to do is working out, so like different kinds of workouts, like maybe running or CrossFit or strength training. It's pretty much what I like to do. I'm not much for traveling or anything like that. I think my favorite part about getting ready for a fight is just seeing yourself get to a level that you didn't know if you could get to. Like having that goal in front of you makes you work so much harder and push through plateaus that you probably wouldn't have pushed through before, and see results that you probably wouldn't have seen before. I think I'm kind of like a man of few words. I guess I just feel like you're either putting your energy into action or you're putting your energy into talking. I'm kind of more of an action guy. Talking just seems like a waste of energy.
Welcome back to Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with Alan Dietz and William Wilson. We just saw the feature on Kyle Harrell, who's in one of the big bouts this weekend for Christy Martin's Pink Promotions at Center Stage in Noda. For tickets, call 704-309-1777. Kevin Tolbert, myself, William Wilson will all be there. And then when we leave the show, we'll have a nice feature on Derek Hyatt. So we're looking forward to that. Guys, we were talking about more of this NASCAR, the Final Four, the last race. I really think it would be fitting. I said it before. Martin Truex has dominated the season. I think it's been his season all along. But something tells me that Kyle Busch is going to be a repeat champion.
And that could happen. They could very easily. You could name any of the other three, and it's literally the exact same possibility of it happening. Because Martin's really the least aggressive of the three of the four there. He's the least aggressive.
Do we know what cars they're in? Like, is Kyle Busch in the Skittles, the Interstate Batteries? Is Harvick in the Bud Light car? We know any
Kyle
of that?
probably in the M&M's car, I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't know if they're
He's in the
running.
Interstate Batteries car. He's winning.
I don't
Tell you
know
that
if
right
they're
now.
running any special paint schemes. I know Martin Truex has Bass Pro Shops on his car
That's
this year.
good.
But I feel sort of the same way as you. There's something.
The Busch Light car, Harvick races good in the Busch Light car. I'm just telling you.
I told somebody if anybody ever deserved to win a championship in a year, this is the year that Martin Truex deserves to win one. But there's just something telling me too. I don't know if it's inexperience with that team, with the crew chief, with whatever. I hope I'm wrong, but I think I got to go with Kyle Busch too. He's the one I least want to win it. But
I do like Kyle Busch. I haven't liked really anybody since Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt Sr. But Martin Truex is such a good human being. Will, you know him. Did he win a jacket off you this year?
Yeah, but all four of these guys have won jackets off me.
Well, I mean, I know you're neutral and unbiased, like in life, but
No, I'm not neutral on bias. I like Kurt Busch, but
Well, he's not in it.
he's just not in it.
hey, and Chase Elliott's going to win the race.
not if Denny Hamlin has anything to do with it.
Man, I tell you,
Denny Hamlin won't be able to keep up with him, I don't think.
if Chase can win the race and Martin wins the championship, that'd be a great ending for both of their seasons.
And for NASCAR.
And for NASCAR,
Yeah.
it
One of
would.
the guys in the four is going to win the race, and they're going to win it all.
And a Ford.
He said in the four.
I'm just one of the guys in these top four guys. Didn't Tony Stewart, or who was it that won the title and won the race all at the same time?
Oh, Tony Stewart's done it. Jimmy Johnson did it last year. It's kind of weird how that works out too, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Because and the thing is, no one wants to be the guy to take out. Like, you don't want to be that guy that wrecks someone out. Because I remember that year when Brendan Gaughan in the Truck Series.
Yeah.
He was having a great season, and he got wrecked out, and he's like, Jim Smith could kiss my tail and all that whole infamous thing.
It was on a restart or something.
Yeah, it was a restart, and he got spun out. But they thought it was a team truck thing.
Yeah.
But I just think, man, that's the beauty of NASCAR. There's no rhyme or reason. Like, literally, all the stuff we're talking about, and Ryan Blaney could blow a tire
Yeah.
and
Or
take
Dan
all four of these
Kirkpatrick.
guys out. But I didn't want to say Danica. I didn't want to pick on her, but
She'd go out in a ball of flame of glory.
Well,
Just like
he's
she
a window
came in.
guy. I mean, it's the last race for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and possibly for Danica Patrick
And Matt Kenseth.
and Kenseth.
I think Kenseth will be back.
I think Kenseth's got to be back. Here's a guy who's a former champion who won last week, so you know he can win races. If you're a guy who runs, I don't know, one of these other teams, if you're at JTG Doherty Racing, and by the way, you still have the standing invitation to go up there.
I want to go up there next week. I want to go up there and talk with Mark. I want to go up there.
Well, you have friends in higher places than me. You live in the penthouse. We'll make that happen. I just think that Matt Kenseth is going to drive for somebody. Maybe he'll take a year off. I don't know. I think he's a smart guy. He definitely
money.
can drive.
It's money. These, you look at Hendrick and you got William Byron in the 24 next year, and Alex Bowman going into the 88, and these older guys are not wanting to take less money in their contracts, and that's kind of where the sport is right now.
I was about to say, why are Hendrick and some of these other teams going with these younger guys from the Truck Series and the Infinity Series? Why are they going? Is it because they're cutting their pay?
It's money.
Yep. I was talking with a driver. Me and a driver was talking the other night. We were texting each other, and this is the word he used. The owners have unionized.
Is it collusion?
Well, they've unionized. They're saying this is what we're going to do. We're not going to pay these guys, like you said. We're not going to pay them $5 million a year, $10 million a year. We're going to pay them this. You either race for this or you don't.
Right.
You know, that happened to Greg Biffle.
You could put Matt Kenseth in that 21 that Paul Menard's going to drive next year, which we know why he's driving it, because it's going to have Menards on the side of it. Smithfield's got to deal with Eric Almirola. That's why he's going to be in the 10. And you could put Matt Kenseth in either one of those cars next year, and that car would win. The two of them, I'm willing to bet a lot that neither one of them will win next year.
And if they do, it'll be a road course. Or A.J. Allmendinger, for that matter.
Yeah.
It'd be a road course. If they do, it'll be a road course or restrictor plate
or the
race
road
where
at Charlotte.
the road.
I like. AJ Allmendinger's come in like second and third at Martinsville, so he does get around some of the other tracks other than the road courses.
Yeah, I mean, but you'll get those kind of things. But
start getting into aero. Any of these mile and a halves for racetracks where you have aero, but it's like William said, a road course, short track where you don't have any aero or a restrictor plate race. I mean, you hate to say it because there's some of the higher profile races, but me in the right circumstances, I could win a restrictor plate race.
Yeah, I mean, you literally can sit there. Look at the last Talladega race. 12 guys finished the race. They just kept wrecking themselves out and wrecking out. If you were just on the literally, if your car was still running and on the track, you were guaranteed a top 12 finish.
Yeah,
because only 12 cars finished the race.
Yeah,
but the owners, like I said, the owners have decided, hey, we're not paying this. And NASCAR doesn't have a union. The drivers aren't protected like they are in the other sports, the stick and ball sports.
There's no drivers association like a players association.
No,
and
if you try to
sports.
start one, they're just going to blackball you, just not sign you to a contract. I mean, that's just what they're going to do.
Collusion, in some ways.
Yeah. Like I said, this particular driver, that word he used was they've unionized and not going to pay people.
All right, give me the race winner and the champion, Alan.
Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch.
Will?
I think Truex is going to win this race, but some tell me he's going to win.
And so then he got the title.
Yeah, I think he's going to win them both. I think he has won them both to win it.
You wouldn't go Kurt Busch to win, and you're not going to do that since he's your guy?
I mean, you asked me to tell the truth.
All right, I'm telling you the truth.
I'd love to see him bookend because he won a Daytona 500. I'd love to see him finish the season with a win going into next season. I'd love it, but.
All right. I want Martin Truex to win. I want him to win the race. I want him to win the title. I hope he does. But something tells me it's going to be
Harvick, aren't you?
No, I'm not going for Harvick. I'm going for Kyle Busch, man. He's Joe Gibbs Racing, man. I'm a Redskins guy. You know that, man.
That's true.
I wish we could get Coach Gibbs back now. In fact, what was his name? Howard Eskin, the Philadelphia commentator, says the Redskins got the wrong Gruden, and I agree with him. So
I think both of them are overrated.
and guys, thanks a lot. Before we close, I want to thank Coach David Davis, John Tobias for being here, Alan Dietz, William Wilson. And as we close today's Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, let's look at Derek Hyatt for the big fights for Christy Martin's Pink Promotions.
World-class gentlemen.
And the world-class gentleman, Levante Early, he's there. That's Saturday at Center Stage and No Doubt Tickets, 704-309-1777. Let's look at Derek Hyatt.
About my pro boxing record. 3-1-1, baby. Good. Sounds like winning to me. My name's Derek Hyatt. I'm from Gastonia, North Carolina, nicknamed the H-Bomb. To me, boxing means a whole lot more than just what you see. It probably saved my life. I was in and out of trouble. 15 or 16, somebody bought me a couple pair of gloves, started playing around with neighborhood kids, and then decided to do a tough man, and after that, was no more trouble after boxing. Yeah. What you think about this right here? One of them gonna feel a little different.
Yeah. Hold on, what you saying though?
I'm saying if I put these on, hit somebody the way I do with these on, then it ain't gonna make no difference.
You ain't gonna be able to hold your hand the same way.
I'm telling you
gonna
what.
be in that
I moved from MMA to boxing. That's always been my true love and passion. And just so happened I come down here to get some sparring with these guys. And once I met Adam and the team down here, I was hooked. To get ready for this fight, we started off 4 to 5 days a week here, swimming, biking, running. I've done a couple mini triathlons outside of boxing, so I always focus hard on the cardio. So I'm coming in shape for sure. Oh, they cramping now. That's the worst. I'm not big on predicting the outcome of the fight, but I'm not allowing the fight to go to decision due to what happened on the last fight with the draw. I think it affected me even worse than the losses in my career. But respect goes out the window when we step through the ropes on November the 18th. It's definitely revenge.